In this world, there are two different dimensions. One dimension is called the Empire, where fighter individuals reside, and the other dimension is named the Nebulizer Sovereignty, where astral mages live. These two dimensions do not get along, and there is a looming war between them. However, our hero is determined to prevent this war from happening. 1 year ago, Empire City, a Saint disciple, set an astral mage free by offering some money and food. When Commander learned of this, they imprisoned him. Now, 1 year later, they are releasing him from jail, but he has lost his Saint Disciple title. The commander offers him a chance to make amends by capturing a witch who is not an ordinary witch, but the notorious Grand Witch of Nebulus who had set fire to the Empire 100 years ago. Now he is given his freedom, and along with it, he is provided with his weapons. On the other hand, we see a girl named Min working in a restaurant, and a boy named Jin comes to meet her. He tells her that the Iska has been released and they are all going on a mission together. Later that night, Iska stands in the darkness and his team arrives. Seeing him after such a long time, Min becomes very happy and hugs him. Mismas is the name of the girl, and she is the captain of their team. She is delighted to meet her team, and they all get into a truck to embark on their mission. They need to capture the Ice Calamity Witch. However, Mismas feels that she is an extremely powerful and strong astral mage. But Jin says that their soldiers still don't know about Iska's strength. Mismas is a bit worried and asks if Iska is really prepared for this mission. Iska replies that this mission is crucial to him, whether he wins or loses. He wants to complete this mission and put an end to this war. They all then reach their station and investigate the machinery with Mismas, trying to figure out the purpose of these machines. That's when Min comes from behind and grabs Iska, providing them with information about the machines present there. That's when Jin informs them the Empire creates these machines and Sovereignty keeps trying to destroy them. They continue making more machines. This has been going on for the last 100 years, and this war can't be stopped using logic anymore because people have become very emotional. Then they all head into the jungle to find the Astral Mage, and their vehicle comes under attack. They have to jump out of the vehicle to save themselves. Suddenly, someone attacks Jin from behind with a fire attack, which Jin deflects with their sword, revealing two Astral Mages in front of them. Jin fires bullets at them, but it doesn't make much of a difference. That's when numerous Astral Mages emerge from beneath the ground. Min deals with them by launching a rocket attack, injuring them. We see someone watching the fight from a distance. This ignites Iska's fighting spirit, and he starts defeating the Astral Mages one by one. But then an Earth monster appears and starts attacking them. Iska manages to cut off its hand in one strike and tells the team to leave. However, the monster's hand miraculously grows back and it resumes its attack. Iska is curious about the girl who controls the monster and asks her about Ice Calamity Witch, but she refuses to reveal any information. So Iska attacks her and forces her to answer his questions. Then Alice, the Ice Calamity Witch, arrives to save her friend and covers the entire area in ice. Rin advises Alice to be careful because he is extremely dangerous. They both start fighting, and Alice uses her powers to launch numerous ice swords at Iska, who counters with a barrage of his own swords, blocking her attacks. A fierce battle ensues, and when Iska attempts to attack Alice from behind, she swiftly moves away and tells him to admit defeat. Alice wants to defeat the Empire and bring peace to the world. However, she slips and falls, but Iska manages to catch her before she hits the ground. Alice ends up in an awkward position, and she asks Iska to let her go, and then they go from there. Later, Iska's team arrives, and they are happy to see that as Iska is alright. At Sovereignty, Alice takes a bath, and then Rin calms her hairs. But Alice's visuals keep bothering her, so she decides to go to the opera house to watch a concert and lighten her mood. The concert is so emotionally charged that Alice starts crying and her handkerchief becomes soaked. A young man from behind offers her a handkerchief. And when the light turns on, Alice realizes that it's not her enemy but Iska. After their confrontation, Iska couldn't sleep at night, and Captain Mismas thinks he might be upset about something related to the fight. So she takes him to her room, and unintentionally, Iska feels embarrassed seeing her undergarments. Then Mismas gives him a concert ticket and suggests he go see opera tomorrow to cheer him up. He agrees, and Min comes to pick him up. While watching the concert, Iska notices a girl crying emotionally, and her handkerchief is wet with tears. So he gives her his handkerchief. But as the concert ends and the lights come on, they recognize each other, and Alice suspects that Iska might be following her and challenges him. However, Rin stops the fight since they are in public, and they decide to settle their differences another day. Alice thanks Iska and leaves the place. On their way, they get hungry and make plans to eat at a nearby restaurant. When they arrive, they find most seats taken but one reserved seat. They sit there, and as Lady Alice drinks water, but Iska suddenly arrives there, and Alice accidentally sprays water from her mouth when she sees him. Rin asks why he's following them, but Iska clarifies that he reserved the seat in advance and didn't intend to stalk them. Now they all sit together and Rin advises Alice to stay alert. They touch the menu simultaneously, and then Iska devises a tactic to open the menu in a way that they can both read it. The waitress arrives and they start ordering. Interestingly, they order the exact same things, and the waitress thinks their hearts and minds might be connected. While eating pasta, Alice asks Iska if he likes pasta. He describes why he likes it, impressing Alice, and they start talking. Rin thinks that maybe their connection is deepening, so she advises Alice to pay attention to her food, mentioning that al dente pasta is the best. On hearing this, Alice and Iska both grin and chime in, saying that benkata is the best. Later that night, Lady Alice returns to her home and Rin urges her to forget about all the events of the day, including the handkerchief given by Iska, as she considers him a monster. Now both Alice and Iska can't sleep as they keep thinking about each other. Iska dreams at night that he and Alice are traveling when they are attacked by monsters, but Alice saves them. This dream wakes Alice up, and the next day they all go for a run together. They run until Captain Mizmiz gets exhausted and asks for water. At this point, Rizia, a special defense member of the headquarters, arrives and everyone is delighted to see her after a year. Rizia informs them that Captain Mizmiz will remain in her command for a while because they have another mission to undertake. She also asks if Iska has been having trouble sleeping lately, hinting that everyone knows about it, and she gives him a ticket to an arm museum. On the other hand, Alice's mother calls her to discuss something important. She tells Alice that their founder fought against thousands of Imperial Army soldiers 100 years ago and is still alive. The founder also has a twin sister named Nebulous One, who is their ancestor. Then they notice that the founder's grip is getting loose, which only happens when she senses danger. Alice's mother believes that the founder might be coming back to life, and that's why she advises her not to fight against Imperial soldiers until they know more. Alice plans to return to Neutral City because she couldn't sleep last night. However, when she arrives in Neutral City, she encounters Iska, who has arrived at the museum. He suggests they go to the museum together, but Alice decides to take a different path where it's dark and she feels lost. In the evening, Alice returns to the place where she met Iska earlier, and he arrives there too because he got worried when he didn't see her. Iska suggests going to the museum again, but Alice declines, stating that she is a princess and can't go with a soldier. However, upon Iska's insistence, she agrees and they explore the paintings together. Iska vividly describes the paintings, making Alice very happy. As evening falls, they sit on a bench outside and Alice offers Iska a cold drink. At first, he hesitates because he doesn't have money, but he eventually accepts and Alice gives it to him because he showed her the way. Later, Alice asks Iska about his age and he reveals that he's 16, making Alice realize that he's younger than her. Iska then falls asleep while resting his head on Alice's shoulder. A few days later, we see that Iska's team is working together and Iska provides them with drinks during a break. Just then, Rizia Video calls them, summoning Iska to the Imperial Senate. There, Iska is praised for his fight against the Ice Calamity Witch, and it's revealed that they are happy to have warriors like him who can combat the Ice Calamity Witch. Now, they want him to return as a Saint Disciple, but this time, his mission is to capture the Ice Calamity Witch. Later, Iska reflects in his room, thinking about the time he spent with Alice, and he calls Mizmiz to inform her that he won't be able to attend the training session tomorrow because he needs to meet someone in Neutral City. Mizmiz agrees to give him the day off, but decides to accompany him as she doesn't want him to go alone. On the other hand, Alice also recalls the time spent with Iska and realizes that they might be falling in love with each other. Meanwhile, Rin comes to Alice with information about Iska, revealing that he's the youngest Saint Disciple in history and a highly talented swordsman. However, he was imprisoned last year for helping an astral mage escape. Alice is puzzled as to why he saved the mage but later found him pursuing her in the Nelka forest. Alice suggests investigating the rescued astral mage for answers. Just then, Alice's mother arrives and tells her that perhaps she's taking too much interest in that enemy soldier. She explains that the Empire's people despise them and consider them enemies, so there's no need for Alice to show any interest in them. Alice contacts Rin again and informs her that they will head to Neutral City the next day because she wants to understand Iska's intentions better. The next day, Iska and Mizmiz head to the city and Iska is confident that he will meet Alice there. They arrive in the city and Alice, along with Rin, meets them at the same spot. When Mizmiz asks Iska about Alice, he introduces her as Alice Nebulous 11, renowned for her association with the Ice Calamity Witch. This revelation makes Mizmiz nervous, and they all proceed to an empty area outside the city. There, Alice asks Iska about an incident that happened a year ago when he freed an astral mage. She questions why he did it. Iska explains that she was just a 13 to 14-year-old girl at the time with weak astral powers, and he didn't want the Empire to target her. But Alice finds Iska's actions quite strange because not too long ago he had attacked her in the Nelka forest, and now he's talking about saving astral mages. However, Iska's goal has always been the same. He desires a peaceful world without war, but he knows that the Empire won't listen to him, and neither will sovereignty. So he wanted to speak directly to the successor of Nebulous, which is Alice, hoping that if he could capture her, sovereignty might understand. However, according to Alice, nothing will happen, and even if he captures her, her mother won't react. Peace is just a false dream that will never come true. However, Alice is unaware that there are good people like Iska within the Empire who want to end the war. She then asks him to become her servant. Upon hearing this, Rin is surprised and strongly advises against it. Alice tells Iska that if he becomes her servant, she will provide him with all the status and luxuries he desires. But suddenly, the ground shakes and the sky splits open. The founder has come back to life in the city, the same founder who had set the Empire on fire 100 years ago. She starts attacking everyone and unleashing immense destruction. Alice's mother realizes that the founder has awakened and believes that she will defeat the Empire, which is their dream. On the other hand, Iska asks Alice why she's attacking him when she's her successor. Alice responds by explaining that they call her the founder because she only sought to explore their land, and calling her a friend was arrogance. Alice wants to resolve the matter between her and Iska alone, and she's determined to do so. However, the stupid founder interferes and ruins everything. Now Alice tells the founder to stop, but the founder attacks her again. Rin uses her earth powers to intervene and protect Alice, but she gets injured in the process. Iska then instructs Alice to heal Rin using her ice powers, which she does. Iska and Alice are now teaming up against the founder, and Alice uses her sword to block the founder's attack. Seeing all this, Alice gets furious and scolds the founder for blindly attacking their people and declares that she won't be the hero of sovereignty anymore. But the founder doesn't care about her words and only wants to destroy the Empire. However, this time, Iska and Alice stand before her, ready to stop her. They use their combined strength and love to confront the founder. Finally, Iska leaps high and attacks the founder, cutting her wings, and she returns to her world. Iska emerges victorious. Then Alice and Iska sit together and discuss continuing their fight on another day. Later, Iska is seen at a casino playing games with his friends, but luck doesn't seem to be on his side, and he keeps losing. Now we jump back to a scene from 2 weeks ago, when Captain Mismas and her team were told to take one last vacation before the joint training begins next month. Rizia leaves after giving them the opportunity to enjoy their break. Returning to the present moment, the entire team is having a good time on their vacation, and Iska asks Mismas about the upcoming mission, which she is unaware of. However, Iska is puzzled about why they all came to the casino. That's when the captain explains that she wants to win a lot of money to buy a tank so that they can escape safely if needed. Just then, Lady Alice and Rin also enter the casino, giving the impression that Alice and Iska are connected in some way. They always seem to appear together. Rin takes Alice to a different part of Neutral City to ensure that she doesn't run into Iska again, not realizing that he's also there. Alice then sits down at a game machine to set her own battle plans and strategies. As she plays, she hits the jackpot and wins a large number of coins. Rin goes to summon the manager, causing a commotion in the casino. Neen arrives as well and congratulates Alice on her win. However, Alice isn't too concerned about the coins, so she gives them to Neen. On the other hand, Captain had run out of coins, and when Neen brings them some coins, she mentions that a girl on the other side hit the jackpot and received many coins. When Neen describes the girl as beautiful with blonde hair, Iska thinks that it might be Alice but doesn't pay much attention. Later, Alice and Rin pass by a market, where Alice encounters a fortune teller and decides to ask about her fortune. Alice tells the wise woman that there's a younger boy in her life, but blushingly denies when asked if he's her boyfriend. She only wants to know when and where they will meet again. The wise woman gazes at her gate and tells her that they are connected and that no one can break their bond. He's around her. Then Rin asks her about Alice's experience. Alice shares her positive experience, but she didn't receive any specific help. They are about to leave when Iska's team arrives, and Iska decides to consult the fortune teller as well. He asks her about Alice, and she tells him about their first meeting on the battlefield and then at the theater. She draws cards and tells him that she is close by. On the other side, Commander Rizia is called, and Iska asks her about the Vortex. He wants Rizia to send Unit 07 to investigate the Vortex. Rizia is concerned that this might make her look like a villain, but she knows it's a task she must undertake. She contacts Unit 07 through a video call and asks if they have read the details of the upcoming training next month. She informs them that she's planning to send them on the next mission, which involves seizing the Vortex. She does this because she knows that if Sovereignty takes control of it, it won't be good for them. At night, Alice is alone thinking about Iska, and Rin comes over to inform her that her sister received a message about a disruption in astral energy, possibly leading to the formation of a vortex in the southwest of Sovereignty. Empire has dispatched some of their people there. The Zhou family shares all the details with the queen, but this time Alice is unaware of this. It's possible that the Zhou family wants to keep control of the energy of the vortex. They decide to investigate this place, and Alice isn't warmly welcomed there. Rin notices that the Masked Lord is about to attack Alice from behind, and she intervenes, impressing the Masked Lord with her reflexes. The Masked Lord offers an excuse, stating that he carries a knife for self-defense due to his weak astral powers. When he asks about the reason for their presence, Alice inquires about the vortex located in Muto. The Zhou family hasn't told them because it hasn't been dealt with yet. Masked Lord decides not to argue further and lets Alice and Rin leave. The next day, the entire Empire's army is at their camp and Mismas' team assembles early in the morning. Suddenly, a girl named Nono arrives, who is a friend of Mismas, and they embrace each other. Then all the soldiers are gathered in one place and Nameless appears as Saint Disciple. Nameless informs them that he hasn't come to give them orders but to tell them that they need to capture the vortex before sovereignty does. If they fail, they must destroy the vortex. Finally, he makes it clear that his sole goal is to eliminate astral powers, and he doesn't want anyone to interfere. Mismas's team sets off on their mission to find the vortex. Meanwhile, Nono calls Mismas and informs her that 2 other units have gone missing, and they haven't heard anything about them yet. In the evening, when they all gather at the base camp, Nameless realizes that 3 out of the 32 units are missing. He doesn't want to send a rescue team for those missing units. He wants everyone to focus on the vortex. However, Iska's team isn't happy with his decision to leave those units behind and wants to know why he did so. Iska goes to speak with Nameless about this and is told that he has the authority to make such decisions. But to discuss it further, Iska needs to meet him with his captain. Mismas arrives at this moment and presents herself as the captain of Unit in 07, questioning why the 3 units were left behind. The commander remains silent, and in the evening Iska, Jin, and Min are sitting together discussing this matter. Mismas returns from a shower, wearing only a towel, and the 2 boys look at her body, making Mismas feel embarrassed. She quickly goes back into the washroom. On the other side, Alice is preparing to return to the valley, this time disguising herself as a princess from the Law family. Alice and Rin arrive at the scene where the mages inquire about the reason for being there. Alice explains that she has some business to attend to. Just then, a vortex appears, and the Masked Lord also appears behind them, stating that he was about to inform them about it. Kissing arrives with the masked man and he introduces her to Alice. Alice asks if he's here to fight against the Empire, to which the masked man dismissively responds. On the other hand, Mismas and her team sense a surge in astral energy in the area. Mismas receives a call informing her that this energy is coming from a particular astral art and they need to find the vortex quickly. While looking around, Mismas sees a lightning bolt, which turns out to be the vortex. At that moment, Noro's unit arrives and Nono asks Mismas if she saw the light of the vortex. When Mismas answers yes, Nono reveals her true colors, and they are all witches. They come to capture everyone. Mismas made a big mistake by not recognizing Nono, who is a spy already conducting espionage in the Empire's camp. Nono shocks Mismas with lightning, but then Nameless appears and attacks them with a dagger, incapacitating everyone. He informs them that he had warned these witches to stay out of his way and that he had suspected traitors in their camp. A witch tries to use his firepower against Nameless, but he threatens them and informs them that he will bomb their entire camp once they return. Then Nono leaves the place and Nameless throws the dagger and Iska cuts it, saying that it might hurt the captain. On the other side, Alice senses that the energy of this vortex is quite weak and only a few astral mages might benefit from it. She speculates that perhaps only 1 or 2 mages will become stronger. Nono brings Mismas, who captures her, and when Mismas sees Alice, she suddenly remembers that they've met before. However, Alice doesn't want her to reveal this, so Rin knocks her unconscious and scolds Nono for bringing her in Vortex. Alice obtains the address of the Imperial soldiers' base camp from Nono and sets off with Rin. She expresses that this is her last chance to avenge herself against Iska, but perhaps there's more to it. Meanwhile, Iska's team is keeping an eye on the Vortex, and Neen informs them that there are only 20 minutes left before the next missile launch, and they need to quickly rescue the captain. They all rush inside in their cars, and Iska notices that Nono is troubling Mismas. So he steps in to save his captain, and when Nono attacks him with lightning, Iska cuts her attack with his sword. Nono was puzzled about how Iska managed to block her lightning with a sword. Just then, Lady Kissing arrives and neutralizes the incoming bomb with her powers. Iska is surprised by her abilities and realizes that Lady Kissing is quite dangerous. Lady Kissing continues to pursue Iska and instructs her captain to break free from the handcuffs because Lady Kissing is a purebred and formidable. On the other hand, Rin and Alice are searching the camp for Iska but can't find him. Nameless attempts to attack Alice, but Rin instinctively stops him. Alice is quite upset because she hurt Ren and she's missing someone else, so she decides to unleash her anger on Nameless. Lady Kissing launches a full-power attack on Iska, which he effortlessly dodges. Then Lady Kissing attempts another attack, but Iska dodges again, counterattacking from behind and rendering her unconscious. The masked man then attacks Iska from behind, picking up Lady Kissing and shoving Mismas into the vortex. Trying to save Mismas, Iska and Alice jump in. Iska grabs Mismas' hand and Alice arrives, searching for Iska. Now she'll only help him on one condition, and that is if he completes the flight with her. The two end up together in a chunk of ice, but then the astral energy increases significantly, causing them to end up in different places. On the other hand, Alice is deeply remembering Iska and her feelings of love for him are growing stronger. Rin arrives and tells Alice that if she's so interested in Iska, she can arrange a battle between them. For that, they'll need to return to Neutral City. Meanwhile, Jin informs Mismas that their points have been reduced by 200, and she apologizes since her actions led to Iska jumping into the vortex. Rizia then appears and informs them about a mission to capture Queen Nebulous. Hearing this, Iska thinks the mission is nearly impossible and believes Rizia is being overly ambitious. He questions her about her plan, and Rizia mentions a way for them to infiltrate Sovereignty, which she'll reveal soon. Alice and Rin have reached Neutral City, where the scorching sun beats down on them. Rin suggests taking a break in the shade, but Alice's mind is preoccupied with thoughts of Iska, as she hasn't seen him much lately. Rin suggests that Iska might have perished after falling into the vortex, but Alice firmly believes that he is alive and will definitely engage in battle. The two split up to search for Iska. Rin begins to contemplate that Alice might become their next queen, but she's also aware of the treacherous politics within Sovereignty. Others are vying for the throne, and even Alive's sisters are making claims. It's crucial for Rin to expand her connections and prepare for the future. She believes Alice should not dwell too much on the fate of a regular soldier. On the other hand, back at the Empire's camp, Mismas experiences a strange sensation on her shoulder, as if she's been bitten by some insect. Neen goes to get some medicine for her and asks her to remove her jacket. As she lifts her t-shirt, a witch's mark is revealed on her arm, leaving everyone bewildered and unable to comprehend how this happened. It's a mystery that no one can solve. Iska calmly asks her if she remembers anything about how she got this mark on her arm. Jin speculates that it might have happened when she fell into the vortex. This revelation leaves Mismas deeply troubled, and she breaks down in tears. To calm Mismas down, Iska tells her that her comrades won't let her be thrown in jail, and they must keep the mark hidden. It's their only way out now. Mismas worries that if everyone finds out, it might put them all in jeopardy. Still, they are ready to accept any trouble that comes their way for the sake of her captain. Captain, deeply moved by her team's loyalty, expresses her gratitude to them. 3 days have passed, and Alice, exhausted from searching for Iska, finally lies down on her bed. She remains determined to find him no matter what. On the other hand, Iska is in his room with his team. He asks about his captain's condition, and Min tells him that the captain is feeling better and will be sleeping soon. However, Jin is concerned they won't be able to hide the captain for long from the commander, and if the truth is exposed, the captain might be killed on the spot. They need to do whatever it takes to protect her. The next day, Iska takes his captain to Neutral City, and she thanks him for helping her. She tells him that nothing will happen to her there, and Iska starts thinking about the world 100 years ago when the Empire was powerful. He mentions that the world was much more peaceful back then, with 60% of it covered in rivers, and the Empire ruled. But the Empire discovered the secret of celestial bodies, which were incredibly powerful, and they started fearing witches and demons. This fear led to a war. However, Iska believes he can still end this war and spare Mismas the need to hide her mark. Captain then goes to fetch something for both of them. Meanwhile, Alice is in awe of the tranquility of Neutral City, wishing for peace like this in her world. Iska starts thinking about Rizia's plan to capture Queen Nebulous and believes it could lead to more war as the Empire won't let her go. Alice suddenly arrives, and due to the intense sunlight, she doesn't immediately recognize Iska. However, when she takes a closer look, she realizes he's Iska and tells him that she found him. But Iska claims he wasn't hiding. Nevertheless, they both end up blushing and feeling awkward in each other's presence. Iska invites Alice to sit next to him, and Alice reluctantly complies. As they sit closely, Alice admits she's glad to see him again and asks him about his reason for coming there. She reassures him that his secret is safe with her. Alice inches closer to him, and Rin teasingly comments on their closeness. Alice continues to get closer to Iska, and they suddenly share an intimate moment. At that moment, Rin intervenes and accuses Alice of making a move on Iska, and Alice puts all blame on Iska. Rin gives them both a can of juice, and as Iska goes to drink it, he notices a strong smell emanating from the can. He suspects it might be poisoned, but still trusts Alice and takes a sip. Suddenly, he collapses unconscious. Rin then reveals to Alice that she spiked Iska's juice with a sleeping pill. She didn't think he would actually drink it. If she had known, she would have put poison in it. Rin then informs Alice that she's taking him away. Mismas arrives and instructs them to let Iska go. Just as Captain's astral powers appear, Alice stops her. News reaches the Empire that Iska has been kidnapped, and Ice Calamity Witch is behind the abduction. Alice and Rin handcuff Iska and take him into the car. Rin suggests taking Iska to Sovereignty, but Alice disagrees. She fears that if they take him there, Iska might face the death penalty, so she orders Rin to take him to Alcatraz. Rizia informs the commander that she has spotted the vehicle in which Iska was kidnapped, and it appears that the abductors are heading towards Sovereignty Province 13, Alcatraz. She discusses the possibility of rescuing Iska. Meanwhile, Captain and the others are gathered deep in thought. Rizia returns with a box and Mismas asks if they can go to save Iska. Rizia tells them that they can go to rescue him, but due to heightened astral powers at the border, entering Sovereignty may be difficult. She opens the box and reveals a magical item. Neen, through the use of this item, is transformed into a witch for a week, allowing them to cross the border. Jin approaches Mismas with a bottle, pretending to stamp her left shoulder to apply the fake mark. Rizia approves of the stamp, believing it to be real. Chen also marks his own leg with the stamp, and Rizia informs them that once they enter Sovereignty, they will go to Alcatraz to find Iska. Later, other units will enter, and their main objective is to capture the Queen. Alice and Rin have also entered Alcatraz. Alice begins to touch Iska, gently grazing his cheek, thinking about how soft his skin is, but not wanting to reveal her true feelings. However, as she reaches for his hair, a cat suddenly appears in front of their car, causing it to lose balance. This leads to Iska falling into Alice's lap, creating an awkward situation for them. Alice, noticing this, pushes Iska away from her. Iska regains consciousness and finds himself handcuffed. He remembers the incident with the juice Rin gave him and realizes he was drugged, causing him to pass out. Alice tells Iska that he consumed a sleeping pill in the juice, which led to his unconsciousness. Iska is disappointed that they had to resort to such tactics to capture him, and Alice blames Rin for it. On the other side, Mismas and her team are ready to enter Sovereignty. After showing their stamps, they cross the border, with Rizia keeping a watchful eye from a distance. Alice and Rin have brought Iska as their prisoner into Sovereignty. Iska is amazed by the place they have arrived. Alice is exhausted from the car ride. Alice suggests that they allow Iska to rest there, but Rin disagrees. She believes that Iska is their enemy and cannot be left unguarded as he might attack Lady Alice. Rin advises Alice to go to the presidential suite and assures her that she will watch over Iska. Lady Alice leaves and Rin is left in charge of keeping an eye on Iska. Mismas and her team have also arrived in Sovereignty, and Rizia contacts them via video call to inquire about their Sovereignty experience. She instructs them to head left and wait for her on another building. Rizia wants to ensure they don't go alone into Sovereignty, so she's with them. On the other side, Rin is angry with Iska and accuses him of being a threat. She takes out a knife and marks her own arm, making it seem like Iska attacked her. She then begins attacking him. Meanwhile, Alice is peacefully reading a book but suddenly feels hungry. She decides to make pasta, and when she goes to Rin, she finds Rin attacking Iska. Alice intervenes and stops Rin. Mismas and her team have entered a jail and begin searching for Iska. Alice decides to tie Iska up and keep an eye on him herself because Rin keeps attacking him repeatedly. Iska asks Alice how they'll manage to use the bathroom together in this situation, which makes Alice blush and scold Rin loudly. Alice then ties Rin up with Iska and goes to take a shower. When she returns, Alice asks for her clothes. However, she accidentally leaves the bathroom without her clothes on and realizes that Iska is standing there. Iska notices an astral crest on her back, and Alice asks what Iska thinks about it. Iska explains that even though his captain is now a witch, he still respects her, and the ongoing war isn't just because of the astral crest. Alice asks what Iska thinks of her, to which she gets a surprising and bold response, saying that he considers her an enemy. This shocks Alice, and she accidentally drops her towel, leading her to believe her feelings might be gone. Iska wants to tell Alice something more and asks her to undress. Alice responds by saying that he has already seen him naked, so he should also remove his shirt. On the other hand, Rizia has come to meet a demon. Rizia explains to the demon that she was told that a demon from Sovereignty was arrested 30 years ago, and he looks incredibly young. He inquires about how she ended up here. Rizia reveals that she possesses citizenship in Sovereignty and has come to request the demon's assistance in escaping. She mentions that a large army is on its way to capture the Queen, and they need the demon's help to get Rizia out safely. Meanwhile, Iska gazes out of the window, observing the buildings, and Alice asks him if he's having trouble sleeping, possibly because it's a new place for him. Iska replies that the city appears to be very peaceful. However, Alice warns him that the more peaceful a city seems, the more dangerous it usually is. Many powerful criminals are held in the city's jails, and Alice points out a towering prison known as the Alulugan Prison Tower, emphasizing its high security due to housing the country's most dangerous criminal, Salinger the Demon. She mentions that Salinger even launched an attack on the late Queen, which is why he is referred to as the Demon. Alice advises Iska not to reveal all the information to Rin. However, Rin suddenly appears and informs that someone has crossed the border into sovereignty, and she suspects Iska. However, since he has been with them from the start, she realizes he couldn't have done it. Now the entire city is on red alert. On the other hand, Miss and the rest of the group fear that the red alert may be because of them, and many soldiers are seen evacuating for an emergency. Miss worries that they might be after Rizia. However, Rizia contacts them and assures them of her safety. She explains that an underground passage has been created for them, guarded by a colossal earth astral spirit. When Miss inquires about Iska, Rizia clarifies that it's not Iska, but a dangerous demon they are dealing with. Rizia urges them to hurry and escape to avoid capture. The group prepares by getting their weapons ready, while soldiers continue to search the area. Alice informs Rin that someone has dug a hole in the ground from the emergency room, and there's news about it. Alice is concerned because someone is planning to attack her mother's astral spirit, so she gets ready to confront them. She asks Iska for help and gives him a new handkerchief. Iska had previously given her a handkerchief to wipe her tears, and now she's giving him one to express gratitude. Alice then rushes off. On the other hand, Miss and her team are surrounded by soldiers from all sides, leaving them with no options but to fight. Miss uses her clothing to make her witch stamp visible and confronts the soldiers. Soldiers gather around her, ready to attack. Suddenly, one soldier launches a fire attack, but Miss narrowly dodges it. The soldiers close in on her from both sides, and shots are fired at her feet. However, Jin and Nain arrive just in time and take down the soldiers, rescuing Miss. Jin commends Miss for her bravery. Iska, watching from a distance, has his eyes fixed on the tower. Just then, he receives a call from Alice, who informs him that they have arrived in sovereignty. He reaches for the handkerchief that Alice had left for him, which contains a hidden key. Iska uses this key to unlock his restraints. Rin and Alice are heading towards the car on the tower when suddenly, their car is attacked, forcing them to jump out. Chaos reigns as Salinger, the demon, breaks out of jail, causing havoc all around. The soldiers are fearful, and in this chaotic moment, they respect Alice as their leader. Iska also arrives at the scene with his swords, ready to help Alice, and he approaches Miss. Rin and Salinger engage in a fierce battle, with Salinger claiming to be a king who will seize all astral spirits. Rin refuses to let that happen and attacks him with her earth astral powers. However, Salinger easily blocks her attack with one hand and destroys the earth monster she created. Rin's powers seem to be no match for Salinger, and he believes he's fighting a weak opponent. As Salinger prepares for a final attack, Iska intervenes just in time to save Rin from his attack, and Iska asks Rin whether this demon is Alice's enemy. Rin then informs him that this is a dangerous demon who is opposed to the late queen. But Iska doesn't care, and if he wants to go home, he must defeat Salinger. However, he takes a promise from Rin that if he defeats the demon, she will let him and his friends cross the border to the Empire without any hindrance. Then he draws his sword and gets ready to fight. But Salinger couldn't understand why an Empire soldier was ultimately saving a witch. So Salinger also gets ready to fight, and upon his signal, the entire Earth starts trembling. Meanwhile, from a distance, Alice's sister Sisbel is observing all of this, and her maid suggests taking her inside. But Sisbel asks what is going on. That's when Schwartz explains that some people from the Empire have infiltrated their nation, and Salinger, the demon, has escaped from Alcatraz jail. They are investigating, and the princess is also at the scene. Back to the fight, Iska uses his sword to cut through the attack, leaving Salinger astonished because no one has been able to do that before. Salinger doesn't understand how he expanded his senses so much that he could stop the attack. Then he's about to snap his fingers, and Rin warns him to be cautious because he steals astral spirits. But Salinger throws Rin. Iska suddenly leaps into the air and attacks Salinger, who stops it using his wind energy. Salinger says there was a 1 in a million chance he would have killed him but gave it a shot anyway. However, the Iska charges at him again, jumping on rocks to attack. Salinger then uses his earth astral powers, and Rin tells him to jump, causing a lot of lava to erupt from the ground. If Iska hadn't jumped, he would have been defeated, so he thanks Rin, but Rin has no other option and hopes that maybe God will help them. That's when Salinger decides to show them his true power. On the other side, Alice assigns her soldiers to their tasks and tries to capture the demon when suddenly, Nameless begins attacking her. She stops the attack using her ice powers. The Nameless claims that no one can stop the demon. Alice then tells him that this is her nation and a lowly soldier like him is not allowed here, which doesn't sit well with the Nameless. Alice suspects that Nameless might have helped Salinger escape from jail, and she attacks Nameless, who dodges and climbs up a building. Nameless mentions that if he completes his task of assisting Salinger, his purpose will be fulfilled, and then he disappears. Alice then sees that Iska is fighting with Salinger. Salinger, using numerous astral spirits at once, launches an attack. To stop this attack, Iska steps forward and confronts it. However, the explosion is so intense that the whole area is blasted, and Salinger thinks Iska is gone. Rin gets angry when she sees Salinger using astral spirits for the wrong purposes. Salinger explains that his true goal is to unite humans and astral spirits, and so far, only two have reached that level: the founder, Nebulous, and Salinger himself, who aims to surpass them all. However, Rin won't allow that to happen and claims to know nothing about Iska. He even defeated the founder, which Salinger finds hard to believe. Then he attempts to attack Rin, but Iska suddenly appears and attacks him. Iska evades and chases Salinger. He realizes the Iska can protect himself by freezing and shielding himself from the flames. Iska is determined to win because Alice trusted him, and he can't betray that trust. Salinger climbs the building and launches a lightning attack, which Rin blocks using her earth powers. Salinger then attacks Rin, and Alice defends hers with her ice powers and saves Rin. Alice knew that Iska would come to help, and so Iska attacks Salinger, depleting his magical powers. Finally, Salinger admits defeat and jumps down into a chasm. Everything returns to normal, and Alice asks about Rin's condition since she was severely injured and the Imperial soldiers have left. Alice thinks that even though Iska could have escaped, he chose to help and begins to smile secretly. The second Nameless from the Empire arrives, who is actually Rizia, and suggests reporting to the Emperor. But Rizia says that the Emperor is only interested in Iska. On the other hand, the Emperor is planning to capture purebred witches. Finally, Miss and her team also return home, and she wonders how her friends managed to cross the sovereignty's border. Jin explains that it was due to Rizia, who gave them temporary astral crests on their bodies, allowing them to enter. Iska is exhausted and blames Alice for everything. Miss overhears him and asks what he's saying, but is interrupted when he asks about her astral crest, which scares Miss as she holds it in her hand. In Sovereignty, Alice praises Rin for her valiant fight against Salinger. Rin thanks Alice and acknowledges that she couldn't have won alone. Rin starts thinking more positively about Iska. Even though he may be your enemy, he is a respectable warrior. Hearing Iska's praise from Rin's mouth makes Alice happy. Sisbel watches from a distance and realizes that her sister Alice is falling in love with the Imperial soldier, and she prays that they may meet someday. On the other hand, Rizia, sitting with Nameless, is trying to report to someone that the black steel hair has returned. However, the lady she's trying to inform tells her not to share the news because even more exciting things are happening. She mentions that a bloodline connected to the founder, Nebulous, has fallen in love with an Imperial soldier. Meanwhile, Sisbel has a disturbing dream and wakes up suddenly. When she goes outside, she sees her mother talking to a man who welcomes her, but Sisbel silently walks away. This upsets her mother, and she orders her servant to bring Sisbel back. Her mother instructs Sisbel to go to Alsamira. Alsamira is an independent nation that has not yet chosen a side. There are rumors that Alsamira is forming a relationship with the Empire, so the Queen needs Sisbel to use her astral powers to determine if this alliance is genuine or not. Sisbel obeys the Queen's command and sets off for her task. We then see Neen, who has just completed his physical examination. Neen is told that he needs to return within a week, and until then the artificial astral crest stamp on Miss body should disappear. However, Miss is still troubled by the marks of her astral crest. Then a girl named Rizia grabs Rizia's ear and brings her to the headquarters of the medical team. She introduces herself as Michaela, the head of the medical team, and mentions that she reviewed Unit 07's work hours and found that they were working more than necessary. She attributes this to Rizia, who is pushing them to work harder. Michaela gives them all a 60-day vacation to relax. Miss is thrilled and thinks that maybe the Astral Crest checkup has been postponed. They all plan to go to a resort outside the Empire. On the other side, Alice is writing some papers and Rin brings her more work, surprising Alice with the amount of work she has to do. Rin suggests she take a rest and makes coffee for her. Alice is getting bored with all the paperwork and wants something more thrilling to do. However, according to Rin, she has already done some thrilling things a few days ago, which makes Alice smile as she remembers. Rin hands Alice her coffee, and just as Alice is about to take a sip, music suddenly starts playing loudly. Alice thinks her older sister might be arriving at the palace and they should go to welcome her. When they step outside, they meet Sisbel, and Alice suggests they go together to welcome their elder sister. However, Sisbel walks away without saying a word, which strikes Rin as strange because Sisbel used to be as curious and lively as Alice. Alice begins to suspect that the upcoming queen election might be causing some awkwardness. She, too, sometimes leaves the palace, but Rin discourages her from doing so, insisting that Sisbel is heading to an independent nation in the east. Sisbel then gets into a car and heads on her mission to Alsamira. When Schwartz asks her if she wants to go alone without any guards, she explains that she can't trust anyone, as she's haunted by recurring dreams of a monster attacking her mother. Then masked men inform someone that Sisbel has left sovereignty and only one of the three sisters has come to them, revealing her name as Elatir. Elatir is the eldest sister of Sisbel and Alice and the Princess of Lu. She tells them that one of the sisters from Sovereignty has formed an alliance with the Empire, and she doesn't want that to happen. Miss and her team also reach Alsamira for their vacation, finding it to be a beautiful place. They enjoy some leisure time at the beach, with Min and Miss even going for a swim. As evening approaches, everyone is tired and Jin carries Miss on his back toward the hotel. Meanwhile, Nain goes to the restroom. That's when Sisbel accidentally collides with Iska. Iska recognizes her as the girl he had saved earlier, but when Nain arrives and asks him about it, he keeps it a secret, saying she was just asking for directions and that she had disappeared so quickly. Sisbel rushes away, pondering if the Saint Disciple is also here. She informs Schwartz if she found her dream knight, and they head back to the hotel. Alice has been busy with work and is tired, but Rin informs her that there's a meet and greet event in the Queen's Hall. At 5 a.m. the next morning, with 20 attendees, including some ministers and foreign guests, the Queen herself arrives in Alice's room and invites her to join them. On the other hand, Sisbel and Schwartz arrive at the place where Sisbel had met Alice in the morning, and Sisbel uses her magic to track her. The Queen, Alice, and Rin enter Sisbel's room, where Sisbel immediately knocks Alice to the ground. Alice finds the same papers in Sisbel's room that Rin had shown her earlier, and she can't figure out how Sisbel knows her. When a light shines on Sisbel's face, Iska recognizes her and Sisbel asks if he will go to Sovereignty with her. Then Sisbel introduces herself and apologizes for coming to her room at such a late hour. On the other hand, Alice and Rin are investigating Sisbel's room, suspecting that Sisbel may have seen Alice and Iska together with her astral spirit. Rin suggests that Sisbel can only see up to 300 meters, which makes it impossible for her to see Alice and Iska together. Rin speculates that Sisbel might think there's a connection between Alice and the Empire. Iska then lights a small lamp and Sisbel sits on the bed. She expresses gratitude to Iska for freeing her, and she offers a piece of hand jewelry as a token of thanks, which Iska hesitates to accept. Sisbel reveals that after her escape, she read in the newspapers about a Saint Disciple helping a witch escape, and the stories spread everywhere. She thought that because of her, Iska might have lost her status and respect. That's why she wants to offer Iska status and safety by inviting her to Sovereignty. Iska questions why Sisbel, who belongs to a royal family with many people, would want to take him along. Sisbel explains that she can't trust anyone in sovereignty. That's why. Then Sisbel decides that she won't give up and will return, leaving the jewelry behind as a sign. The Queen searches Sisbel's room but finds nothing. Rin requests that Alice be allowed to go on a trip because Sisbel is in a distant foreign nation. And if Alice talks to her younger sister, Sisbel might reveal something. Alice is ready to go to her sister. On the other hand, Sisbel walks on the road determined to come back and not give up. In the Empire's higher command, there is a discussion about the purebred witch, Queen Nebulus's daughter, who is heading to an independent nation without any guards. Their plan is to send a dangerous machine to capture the witch. Iska and her team are enjoying their meals and preparing delicious dishes. However, Iska seems lost and sad today. Elatir returns to the masked man and informs him that the people trying to establish a connection with the Empire are her younger sisters. The masked man finds this hard to believe and starts laughing. Elatir believes that the future of Sovereignty is more important than the upcoming election, and if her sisters are planning to betray Sovereignty, she will stop them. Meanwhile, Alice disembarks from the bus and travels to her destination alone this time, which is quite challenging for her. Suddenly, the bus comes to a sudden halt, and when Alice steps outside, she sees large footprints on the ground. There's also machine oil indicating that something is about to go wrong. On the other hand, Miss is tired from all walking and asks Jin how much longer it will take to reach the hotel. Today, Iska is changing hotels to avoid any potential trouble with Sisbel like the previous day. Nain decides to stop and replaces a sticker on her astral crest. There are still 60 days left, but she's worried because the captain seems afraid. They decide to go to the general market, an independent nation, to get a new sticker, the one that Mrs. Friend used on her astral crest. The group finally reaches their new hotel, and Iska goes to exchange currency, while they wait outside. Sisbel finds Iska and assures her that she won't give up on him. Iska takes Sisbel to a different location to avoid any further complications. Iska is now ready to support Sisbel but can't go with her. Sisbel explains that someone wants to harm her mother, Queen Nebulous, and she's the founder's successor. This person isn't targeting sovereignty but intends to do something more dangerous. If Queen Nebulous is assassinated, a war against the Empire will begin. Sisbel has seen these events through her astral powers. She can't trust anyone, which is why she wants Iska by her side. She asks if Iska wants a war between sovereignty and the Empire, and if he joins her, they can stop a massive war together and change the future. Iska is now willing to accompany Sisbel, but he can't go to Sovereignty with her. However, she tries to explain that if the queen is assassinated, sovereignty will fall into the hands of a traitor and a war will start. Iska says her goal is not just to end the war, but to resolve the conflict that has been ongoing for 100 years. Sisbel thinks the Empire has hurt her people too much, and forgiveness won't come easily. Iska tells her that sovereignty has a person she can rely on, but at that moment, the masked man and his guards arrive. He questions why there's an Imperial soldier with Sisbel and how the queen would react when she learns her daughter is connected to the Empire. Sisbel tries to explain that she's not with the Empire, but has come to talk to Iska about saving sovereignty from a traitor. However, the masked man calls her a traitor. The masked man instructs his guards to capture Sisbel, and she tries to escape. Iska asks masked man aren't they on same side, but the masked man tells Iska that if he doesn't leave now, she'll be in trouble too. As Sisbel attempts to flee, a massive machine suddenly appears, specifically targeting purebred Sisbel for capture. As Sisbel runs, the large machine approaches her, determined to capture her. Iska rushes to Sisbel's aid, and the masked man and his guards begin to attack him. The masked man points out that despite her royal family background, Sisbel is talking to an Empire soldier, which is considered a crime. Just then, Jin and the rest of the team arrive at the scene, noting that causing a disturbance at this hour is also a crime. Mismis recognizes the masked man as the one who pushed her into the vortex earlier. Mismis questions the reason for his presence, but the masked man insists he's busy with important work and doesn't have time for idle talk. On the other side, an Empire monster detects the presence of astral energy, including Mismis's. The monster launches an attack on the mages, and Sisbel tries to escape. However, the Empire monster relentlessly pursues Sisbel. The masked man believes the Empire's monster will do the job he intended, so he starts to leave the scene. Still, Jin stops in with a gunshot, still harboring anger over the incident where the masked man pushed the captain into the vortex. Witches from the Empire launch fire attacks on Jin, and both Jin and the Mismis have to flee. On the other side, Iska protects Sisbel from the monster's attacks, using his sword to fend it off. Sisbel questions why Iska is saving her when he previously claimed they couldn't be friends. Iska responds that there are many things he hasn't told her yet. He attacks the monster again. Sisbel wonders why Iska is behaving so kindly toward her and starts to develop stronger feelings for him. Meanwhile, Jin and Mismis are fleeing from the masked man, who continues to pursue them. Jin shoots at his heart, but the masked man uses a device to block the bullet, destroying the evidence of Sisbel's betrayal. The masked man attacks Jin, causing him to collapse. Seeing Jin's condition infuriates Mismis. The masked man reveals that 100 years ago, the Empire's founder burned down the Empire with fire, and today he plans to do the same using gasoline. A wish with fire powers is meant to set the fire, but her flames are extinguished by Mismis's wind powers. Jin also shoots the masked man in the head, but he manages to escape. Back with Sisbel and Iska, the Empire's monster grows even more powerful and continues launching dangerous attacks. Sisbel is nearly overwhelmed, but Iska intervenes, saving her once again. Neen tries to attack the monster, but her efforts seem futile. Iska urges Neen to go and protect the others, which she eventually does. Iska advances with his sword and begins to attack the monster. Sisbel then uses her astral energy to rewind a past event and attacks the monster at that moment, causing it to fall to the ground. However, the monster generates a different energy and engulfs Sisbel. Iska is puzzled about what this creature is. On the other side, Mismis and the team are trying to save everyone, and Iska moves forward to rescue Sisbel and confront the monster again. But the monster proves to be formidable, and its attack overwhelms him. Just then, Alice arrives and saves Iska using her ice magic. Iska is relieved to see her, and now they join forces to battle the monster. They engage the monster together, and Alice creates an ice bridge for Iska to attack, but the monster is still quite dangerous. The monster then starts speaking in a strange language that they don't understand. The monster then launches an attack at both of them, but Alice stops it with her blossom attack. At this point, the monster starts speaking a language that is incomprehensible to them. Alice and Iska decide to fight alongside each other, and with mutual support, they manage to defeat the monster with a powerful joint attack, reducing it to ashes. Stisbel is finally freed. There is chaos in the Empire as it's revealed that their communication with the machine has been disrupted due to the successor of Black Steel. Alice and Iska thank each other, but Alice is confused by Iska's gratitude since he had been her enemy. Stisbel wakes up and asks Alice if she knows Iska and what their relationship is. However, Alice admits she doesn't know Iska, and Iska says the same. Stisbel then tells Iska that she wishes he were her dream knight and the next queen. Hearing this, Alice becomes jealous and tells Iska that she can't say such things. Iska's friends call him, and he leaves to meet them. Rizia and Nameless also hear the news of their big monster's defeat and the Emperor's disappearance. On the other side, Salinger praises Iska, and the Emperor comes to meet him, wanting to tell him something. The masked man tells Lady Kissing to prepare for the election. Meanwhile, Elatir Queen is visited by someone, and she figures out whether the information about Stisbel is true or if she is an imposter. Iska and Alice sit together on a bench, and Alice wants to keep their meetings a secret from others. Then, Alice gets lost in Iska's eyes, and it seems like they are about to share a kiss, but they suddenly stand up and leave for their place. And that's how this season concludes.